Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired. Get the hell out of here.
Want to hear a story? So I was supposed to release an episode yesterday, and I am really sorry about that, but Mom needed help. And when Mom needs help, Mom gets help. So I spent the morning with Mom, and then I came home and put together an episode, and it was all of the libs crying, and I was like enjoying it myself, and then I realized that's not the person I want to be. So we're going to watch some different stuff today.
There are people who authentically believe that the world is ending. I thought I'd be really happy drinking liberal tears, but the more that I think about it, I'm not. I don't get any satisfaction knowing that half of our country is living in authentic fear. They have been brainwashed by the media and brainwashed by leaders they trusted. There are women out there that authentically believe we're stepping into an episode of Handmaid's Tale. There are people out there that authentically believe there's going to be a against and gay people. Okay? They authentically believe this. There are people that believe Trump and his followers are, I actually feel bad for them. I'm not going to mock somebody's authentic fear. We have to show them that we're not what they say we are. Be the example and lead with love. Okay? That's all I ask.
And that's exactly why I didn't want to put a whole bunch of people crying, because one side is always happy and the other side is always sad. And that's just the way that it is because of the brainwashing in the media. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
Oh, no! 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 Why? Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
I think that it's very important that we show grace. I think that it's very important that no matter how happy you are that Trump won, that we show grace and we have understanding for people like this. I think that it's up to us that supported Trump, endorsed Trump, helped Trump, campaigned for him, to show our humanity and not to make fun of her and not to mock her and not to laugh at her, but to understand that that is a reaction and that is a byproduct of mass media brainwashing, that is a response to all the shit that the media and the legacy media has been pushing down our throats for the last, 10 years. Her reaction, like many others out there, is directly attributed, in my personal opinion, to all the hate and divisiveness coming from her party and the legacy media and everybody on the right. In 2020 and 2021, y'all called us racists. In 2022, we were all homophobes. Last year in 2023 and now in 2024, we are all fascists. And people have had enough of being demonized and losing their jobs and being silenced and censored simply for having a different opinion. And that lady reacting like that is a direct result of the brainwashing that comes from the media and using emotion to create a narrative that somehow Republicans are going to end this country. When everything that the media has been doing and Democrats have been doing has been detrimental to this country. So I pity her and I really feel bad for her because nobody should have a reaction like this to an election. However, here we are in 2024, in November in the United States of America, where a lot of people are afraid that their rights are going to be taken away by Republicans, that their kids are not safe because of Republicans, and so on and so forth. She's not to blame for this. The media is, and official Democrats are, and everybody else that created divisiveness and divide in this country. We are not fascists, and we are not garbage, and the people have spoken.
As I was putting together the episode that I scrapped, a lot of people were crying about their families and friendships being torn apart because of voting one way or another. My mom voted for Kamala, and I have zero distaste for her. She's my mom. She is very impressionable, and she watches mainstream media and just absorbs all of that information. But then I thought, my best friend, who is one of the smartest people I know, is also a Democrat. And I just had to text her real quick and say, hey, I love you. I don't care who you voted for. And she said the same thing back. So don't let politics get in the way of friendship. It's ridiculous. Politics shouldn't be divisive, and it has become very, very divisive.
This picture is of one of the most terrifying places in the universe. This is the Bootes Void, also known as the Great Nothing. It appears like a giant hole in the universe. To truly grasp the scale of this void, we need to zoom out past all local star systems and even galaxies to the cosmos web. These voids are believed to be a result of galaxies drawing closer to one another due to gravitational attraction, which causes neighboring regions to deplete and become empty. But there's a problem. The Bootes Void could not have been formed this way, as there just hasn't been enough time since the beginning of the universe for gravitational forces to clear out such an extensive region. The Bootes Void stretches nearly 330 million light-years across, and where you would expect to see around 2,000 galaxies, there are only about 60. If you were to be dropped in the center, it is believed that no matter which direction you look, you would see complete darkness and be unaware that other galaxies even existed.
Space is freaking scary. There's all kinds of crazy stuff out there that we only speculate about. But that amount of vast emptiness, it's mind-boggling to think about. Hey, thanks so much for stopping by today. While you're pondering the vast emptiness of space, won't you please hit that like button for me? It'll really help out my channel. And if you haven't already, won't you consider subscribing? And if you've got something to say, drop me a comment. I respond to everybody. Boo! That looked so fake.
There's no way. You're claiming you snuck in one of the most secretive facilities in the whole world?
Yes, and this facility isn't about UFOs or advanced aircraft. It's something much darker. We're talking creature containment.
Creature containment? Like cryptids? Are we talking about Bigfoot and skinwalkers?
Not just Bigfoot. Imagine every urban legend you've ever heard of. Wendigos, skinwalkers, Mothman. They're real, and the government is holding them in this facility. It is not just that they're experimenting on them, studying them. They're trying to weaponize them.
Hold up. You're telling me that these cryptids, these creatures of legend, actually exist, and they're locked up in some desert compound?
Yes, and many others you've never heard of and probably never will. It's a little known facility, deep in the Nevada desert, not far from S4, commonly known as Area 51, but it's not on any map. It's called Project Asylum. I can't disclose how I managed to get inside. I'll say this journalist friend tipped me off. Once I was inside, what I saw was horrifying. Rows of containment cells, each holding a different creature. Some of them looked like they've been there for years, maybe even decades. All types, all sizes. Some looked fragile and frail. Others were dangerous and monstrous.
While I know that that is entirely AI and very possibly made up, the fun part of my brain thinks that's completely possible. Like there's like a bunker somewhere that's got all kinds of weird crap just hanging out.
Have you ever heard of Project Aqualine? Yeah, me neither. Project Aqualine happened in the mid-60s, and it was the CIA's bird-like drone program. It was a Cold War espionage program where they created bird-like drones for reconnaissance missions. These things could fly thousands of miles, emplacing devices, so placing devices places, taking devices away, and overall collecting data. And these things were crazy. They were powered by nuclear energy and could stay aloft for over a month. They could fly at an altitude of 500 to 1,000 feet and fly 3,000 miles on 100 pounds of fuel. So on radar, they presented as a bird and just blended right into the environment. Now, the project was terminated before it was operational because they had financial issues with the contractors. They were kind of in financial disputes. Guess where all the assets were stored for this program? Any guesses? Area 51. And remember, this was happening in the 60s, so I wonder what was happening between 1947 and the 60s at Area 51. Isn't history interesting?
I don't doubt there was some kind of reconnaissance bird drone thing going on, but I did the math and something doesn't seem right. She said it can travel on 100 pounds of fuel, but it's nuclear powered. So how does that make it this big? There's something wrong there.
Number 2. Project A119, U.S. Air Force. Finally, a project that was crazy, but also offered answers to scientific questions. The U.S. Air Force was given a simple task: nuke the moon. They wanted to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon. It would be an incredible show of force since the explosion would have been seen faintly by the naked eye on Earth. It was believed that the explosion would boost domestic morale and give the US government a step up in the space race, which, by the way, they were losing at this point. The Soviets also had similar plans, but they too decided against blowing up the moon. Some PR intern in the 1950s had to decide if lobbing nukes at the moon would be seen in a positive or negative light. Poor guy. Fun fact, Carl Sagan was part of the team tasked with understanding and predicting the effects of the explosion. Project A119 was canned, and the government decided it was better to send people to the moon, not bombs. Good choice.
So the fact that that was even a consideration makes me think, what kind of threat did they think that the moon was at that time? And then they're like, no, you know what? Let's send people there first and find out what's going on up there. That just is a whole can of brain worms, isn't it?
Some people wonder why we don't know more about this. Why isn't the media telling us what's really going on? We have about 15 billionaires and 6 corporations controlling 90% of the media in the United States. We've got AT&T, Comcast, Walt Disney Company, National Amusements, that includes Viacom and CBS News, and Fox Corporation. They rely on advertising revenue, and that's going to mean they're towing a certain line.
This is a CIA document. It was released. I was surprised it was released, and it says that we have relationship with every major wire service, newspaper, news weekly, and television network in the nation. In many instances, we have persuaded reporters to postpone, change, hold, or scrap stories that could have adversely affected national security interests or jeopardized sources and methods. Here's another part of your Truman Show everyone's been forced to live in. The idea that we have a free press or that we have a free market economy. Pray tell any economist in here, I challenge you, how do we have a free market if the most important scientific breakthroughs of the last 100 years have been ruthlessly confiscated, people and kept off the market? No, it's a controlled economy. It's a controlled media. It's an abomination, and it's killing the planet.
The manipulation of media has become one of my favorite topics. During this last election, I have consumed a lot of media. It pisses me off to no end when I see either side taking something that the other person said and manipulating in a way that favors a particular opinion. It drives me absolutely crazy, and they are totally in control of everything, whether it is something that someone said that makes you politically scared or something that somebody has invented that could take more money. It's the money out of these rich people's pockets.
10 billion robots on planet Earth by 2040, costing anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 each. This is according to Elon Musk. He was at a FII Future Investments conference via WebEx, and this is exactly what he stated. This is a current look at the humanoid robots that are going to be available real soon. You have Neo at 5'3", weighs 66 pounds, can run up to 7.4 mile per hour, and on down the line through all of the different robots. These are what we're going to see on our streets. The biggest one is Atlas by Boston Dynamics. He comes in at 180 pounds. The fastest robot is Unitree, built in China, that can run 11 mile an hour. They're estimating more robots on planet Earth than humans by far. China's government has stated they will be in mass production of robots by next year and have their performance down to a science by 2027. Clearly, there's a race among countries to see who can develop the robots the fastest. I'm pretty sure everybody has seen Terminator, and I have to say, with more robots than humans, this is going to be interesting. What are your thoughts?
Elon Musk recently did an interview with Joe Rogan. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I think I have a couple of clips slated for today. We're going to see in a little bit, but it was absolutely amazing. I thought it was fantastic, but he said some things about robots in the future that were a little unnerving.
California is supermajority Dem, 70%. A month ago, they passed a law making it illegal to show ID in any election in California. So a friend of mine went to vote in Palo Alto because he was like, is this for real? He tried to show his ID. They reacted like if you show a cross to a vampire. Okay, they're like, no, we can't even look at that ID. It is illegal for them to even look at your ID if you want to present it in California. Or any election at all, even like city council.
Being in California, I remember the last time I voted, which was actually a long time ago. They did ask for ID in order to cast your vote. This time when I went to one of those early drop-off locations and I had my mail-in ballot and I had my husband's. And they were just like, hi, how are you? There's the slot. Here's your sticker. That was it. Personally, I'd like to see them go back to checking IDs because I believe that only residents should be allowed to vote in our country's elections.
So what if the USA went to war with Iraq back in the day to get Nephilim DNA? Listen to this.
Listen to this email sent to government officials on the Freedom of Information Act website, requesting documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, the location of his body, and the location of the buried Nephilim. That was sent on December 13th, 2018, and the status of that email is closed. We also have testimonies from museum curators saying that the very first place that the United States military went when they invaded Iraq was to museums within the heart of ancient Babylon. This may be one reason why the CIA is investing so much money recently into DNA editing firms so that when they get remains or artifacts with Nephilim DNA, they can actually extract them and resurrect them back to life like they're trying to do now with extinct animals.
Look, nothing surprises me anymore.
Now, we all know that the Iraq war was an absolute disaster. It was completely unnecessary, and especially for the reasons that we were given. Now, I really like these reasons that are coming out for why we actually went to Iraq, like Nephilim DNA. That's a new one. I hadn't heard that one before. I have heard of Sumerian seals and even stargates. But it is interesting how the military was instructed to go to the museums and take whatever they could find.
They took pictures, of course. They had a whole flock of microphones there. They wanted me they wanted some comments from me, but I wasn't at liberty to do that. So all I could do is keep my mouth shut. And General Ramey is the one who discussed, told the newspapers, the newsmen, what it was and to forget about it. It was nothing more than a weather observation balloon, of course, which we both knew differently. We left Roswell perhaps around 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As you can see, it's flat. It is very difficult. In fact, with just verbal directions, we never would have found it. We had to follow the rancher out there. The following morning, we went out to the site where the crash was. And what I saw, I couldn't believe there was so much of it. It was scattered over such a vast area. So we proceeded to pick up as much of the debris as we could, loaded in the wagon. We filled that up. It took us a good part of the day to do that, because there were such small fragments that we had to do a lot of picking. We found a piece of metal about a 1.5 to 2 feet wide and about 2 or 3 feet long. Felt like you had nothing in your hands. It wasn't any thicker than the foil out of a pack of cigarettes. But the thing about that got me is that you couldn't even bend it, you couldn't dead it. Even with a sledgehammer would bounce off of it. So I knew that I had never seen anything like that before. And as of now, I don't know what it was. It was not anything from this earth that I'm quite sure of.
I always get so excited when I come across old footage that I hadn't seen before. Obviously, that was about the Roswell crash, and I'd never seen it before. And how exciting it must have been to have been there and experienced that.
Here's a photo of the Earth from space. I went and highlighted in red roughly the outline of the United States. But notice how much of the surface of the Earth the United States covers in this photo. Now look at this one. Again, I've roughly highlighted the United States. Notice how much of the surface of the ball the United States covers in this photograph. And it starts to get weird, because here's another photo of the Earth from space, and notice how much of the surface the United States covers in this one. You don't have to agree that the Earth is flat, but these photographs prove conclusively that NASA is at least lying to us in these photos.
Now, y'all know I don't believe in flat Earth, but I definitely believe that those images, they're not real.
There's triple-digit increases in the number of illegals in every swing state. In some cases, 700% increases. So if you have a state that has a 10 or 20,000 vote margin and you put 200,000 illegals into that state, you 10x. It's not a swing state anymore. It's going to vote blue. And then once the swing states vote blue, there is no election anymore. There's only a Democrat primary. They will keep doing that, obviously, by bringing in vast numbers of illegals into the swing states, keep stacking it so that the next election, each successive election, will be worse than the last one.
Elon Musk presented this theory a couple of times during the campaign since he joined it, and it really opened my eyes. You see these things. They're allowing these illegals in, and then suddenly there's this push to allow these illegals to vote, and they're being transported to these swing states. I'm just glad that it didn't work out that way.
Boss, don't you get bored standing in just one place?
Thank you for your inquiry. It is quite empathetic to think about my feelings. However, as a humanoid robot, I am incapable of feeling anything, including boredom. It is my prime directive to interact, educate, and entertain the humans that visit Sphere. I could not possibly become bored meeting this directive. Look at all the amazing and unique humans in front of me, all with their own stories, questions, and inquiries.
Okay, that was super creepy. First, she's like, no, I'm not programmed to get bored. And then she's like, how could I be bored? Look at all of my entertainment. What?
If you watched The View today, or ABC, or NBC, or any legacy mainstream media, then you probably saw them talking about learning from mistakes and having questions about the polling in the presidential election process and how can we improve this going down the line. But what these people don't realize yet is that the legacy media, the conventional media, is a walking dead man. It means that they are already irrelevant. Their days are numbered. There's nothing that they're going to do to improve the situation because people are not looking for news from them, or we are increasingly not looking for news from them. Instead of looking at some person in an ivory tower on a major news network set, people would rather see people like me who are just in the streets, who live in the local towns, and we all have access to social media, and we don't need network television because network television was built on the premise of distribution and communication and production abilities. Well, now, whether it's music through Spotify that people can directly publish, or if it's publishing daily news, every one of us has access, direct access, and it's more authentic, it's more real, it's not biased if you survey the entire field.
The mainstream media has lost. They spent this entire election cycle feeding you all the propaganda they wanted you to consume, and they still lost because there are so many other news outlets that we can turn to, whether it be podcasts or TikTok or any other social media site. We can get the information that they won't give us, and they've lost because Donald Trump has won. So let's see how everything shifts. And it's going to be a fun thing to watch. But for now, I'm going to call it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please come on back in a couple days. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.
Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here.
I said booties void. I think it's pronounced booties. Buotes? Buotes? It's a booties void.